everybody, welcome to the SkyLounge, here to review some Seattle Seahawks action as we win 21-20 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I know what a lot of you might be thinking. Yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals, how's that 21-20? That doesn't make any sense. You guys were favored by -9.5, and I told everybody I knew, listen, we're not going to cover that shit. All right, the Seahawks aren't going to cover that shit. It just doesn't happen. And lo and behold, they don't cover the spread, and they make this fan have a heart attack watching this entire game, taking notes diligently. And what was very notable from the beginning was Ziggy Ansah being left out of the roster. He was an inactive member of the squad today, so Quentin Jefferson filled in. And we had Al Woods and Poona Ford in that front four right there, alongside Jadeveon Clowney. Looked nice, looked great. I thought they did pretty swell early on, but the initial problem for Seattle's defense, which pretty much carried on throughout the entirety of this game, was the secondary. I thought the safeties and cornerbacks were just kind of there at times, but most of the times you were just wondering what the hell is going on. Why can't anything get done? But what did get done in was the defense's awareness of what the fuck Andy Dalton was going to do. Andy Dalton had a goddamn field day. And we'll talk about the stats and what he was able to do incredibly on this day in Seattle. But he gets the team into position, and with about 2 minutes and 48 seconds left, Cincinnati makes a field goal, 3 points. Bullock, easy shit for him. And from that point on, it just felt as though Seattle's offense was really stifled. It looked really complacent, and at times, it felt like kind of the frustration of the wild card game against the Cowboys. Those first 2-3 quarters were like, really? Nothing's happening. Like, literally nothing is happening. What the fuck? So many 3-and-outs. What the hell's going on? It just feels like we're stalling. It feels like there's nothing pushing us out there. And I just thought we're not playing up to our potential. This is kind of crazy that we're not. And so when it was finally time, for Seattle to make their statement, they did. In the second quarter, of course, with about 6 minutes and 36 seconds left on the clock in the second quarter, Seattle gets a touchdown from Chris Carson, because Chris Carson's a beast. One of the most underrated running backs in the league, because, yeah, he's not the sexiest name like Ezekiel Elliott, Kamara, Saquon Barkley. He's none of those guys, but he does magnificent work when the job is asked of him. And so Seattle is able to bounce back 7-3, and just when you think, okay, cool, defense is going to come back, we're going to get back at it, and the problem today was a constant theme too. Penalties. Special teams. Penalties. I mean, as much as we love, what was it, Ben Burr-Kirven? Yeah, I think it was Ben Burr-Kirven who had the penalty in the special teams to allow for that field goal. And really a lot of stupid mistakes, just letting shit slip through, right? And so when we make that touchdown, Cincinnati gets the ball back. And within less than a minute, that drive was really less than a minute. It felt like less than a minute. Andy Dalton just lasers the ball straight through Ross. 5 minutes and 12 seconds left in the second quarter. And they absolutely carved that secondary up. That secondary looked just befuddled. They didn't know what to do at times. And this was clearly one of those scenarios where Andy Dalton just took his time and made it his. And as much as I'm one of those guys that if you're not up to a certain standard in quarterback, I'm probably going to berate you, and whether that be right or wrong, that's just kind of my thing. But as much as I berate and not give the full due credit to Andy Dalton, he did magnificent today. And so he bounces back right then and there with a answering fucking touchdown, like a poke back touchdown. Is that the best way to say that shit? it was incredible to see Seattle come back on the offensive side and just completely look helpless. Vanilla again. But thankfully, DK Metcalf, young rookie extraordinaire, made some clinical catches to put us in prime positions, man. And thankfully, Chris Carson, just being the versatile back that he is, receives a touchdown by Russell Wilson in the second quarter with about 52 seconds left. And this puts up Seattle 14-10, right? 14-10. And there's this air of confidence. There's this idea of, okay, we might have some of these cats injured. Ugo Amadi was one of them, namely. Nico Thorpe, another name. But there's no way. There's no way we're going to let Cincinnati just have another one. Yeah, Ross gets another touchdown with about 7 seconds left to go in that second quarter to drive the score 17-14 in favor of Cincinnati. And again, the question has to be asked. What the hell were we doing not closing in on Andy Dalton? We gave him so much, and I understand his release is relatively fast, but relative to that time, we gave him too much space. I think we did. And to have Ross just cut back like that, it was an absolute embarrassment to watch, to be honest. And I thought, oh God, if we get embarrassed by the Cincinnati Bengals, who were projected nowhere near to be this good on paper, or according to the bookies as well, right? But they came in with this attitude of, we're not coming down here to just lose. We're going to give it our all. And they absolutely gave us a run for our money. And, ending that half at 17-14, I'm pretty sure it put some perspective into these guys. Like, holy shit, man, we can't just dilly-dally and do shit here. And so thankfully, as much as you could talk your shit, the world is full of these little bitch slaps. It really is. The first play of the second half, Chris Carson fumbles the ball. But subsequently, I believe it was that specific drive where Andy Dalton, right near, I believe, the 20 or fucking 10-yard line, just so close to the end zone, he fumbles / gets the ball intercepted because of the rain, and it's Al Woods making the play, making the work, making the dream. And also, shout out to Quentin Jefferson, who was an unbelievable factor into this game as to making sure Andy Dalton didn't run a bigger fucking train on us. It's true. I mean, he did an incredible job. But yeah, Al Wood's able to create that turnover. And unfortunately, at this time, Seattle just couldn't really capitalize. Whenever we got these opportunities to take control, it just felt as though we were trying to grip something with oily hands. And it just kept slipping out. Like a little penis, just slipping out and shit. And for what looked very elementary out there for Seattle's, lack of effort, Cincinnati was just absolutely fantastic. I thought they just carved our shit up whenever they could. And to see not only Andy Dalton just ripping our defense apart, embarrasses me. To me, what was really the key part in the frustration of this game was our O-line. After improvements last season, we've kind of come back down to earth. And I'm looking at Germain Ifedi again, and I gotta think, really? This turnstile shit again? We're gonna do this shit again? Oh, God. Fucking... Could we get a meaningful drive going, please? No? Not in the third quarter? All right. It's just going to be the Andy Dalton party, just a completion party where he just short passes, first downs, and you just terrify every fucking Seattle fan who's sitting there or standing there in CenturyLink Field, heart palpitating, hoping the team's okay. Well, despite my anger and worry, Seattle had it settled. Also, despite Germain Ifedi's boneheaded mistakes here and there. DK Metcalf, again, huge clutch catch to put the team in a position to essentially win the game. Because this next touchdown from Russell Wilson to Tyler Lockett, 44 yards, 14 minutes and 53 seconds left in the fourth quarter. 7 seconds in the fourth quarter. Beautiful throw from Russell Wilson. And surprise, surprise, this is the winning touchdown of the game. Later on in the game, yes, Tyler Lockett did miss a throw by Russell Wilson, but you saw kind of how valuable Tyler Lockett is to this team, especially to a guy like Russell Wilson. Their perfect passer catch rating from last season, that's not a coincidence, okay? There's something special there. And it was kind of unfortunate that the team didn't really capitalize on that early in the game. Maybe Tyler was injured. If anybody knows about that, please let me know. But at this point, it was just a battle of worrying what the fuck, we're going to fuck up with first. But thankfully, a lot of our guys stepped up. Quentin Jefferson, again, just absolute stud. And it just felt, despite maybe like pushing them back 2 steps, they would gain 2.5 steps more. It always felt like that during that last bit of the fourth quarter. And yeah, penalties on both sides. Penalties on both sides, offense and defense. We were just really stupid on the penalties all game today. And within that, within that realm of stupidity of getting fucking penalties and shit, Trey Flowers, standout citizen of just making boneheaded plays and causing boneheaded penalties, allowed Cincinnati to get into space, which thankfully our defense played clutch enough to not get them into the end zone and settle them for a field goal, which not tied the score, but got the score way too close to 20-21 with 7 minutes left in the game. Now, the thing is, like I said, Lockett, after this, drops a key pass that could have completely destroyed this game and maybe made the bettors happy in Vegas. Who the hell knows? But Andy Dalton just had an absolutely amazing day. Just able to take opportunity from Seattle's either hiccups or mistakes and just do absolutely well. And for Seattle, when they have the opportunity to kill the clock, they did to a certain degree. They did. I thought overusing Chris Carson to a point where it became way too obvious the way you lined up our guys. And, shout out to the Cincinnati defense. They absolutely read our offense today. Chris Carson, the receivers just had no chance to get shit done. But somehow, some way, we pulled out of that fourth quarter, got the win, with the time dying out, with Cincinnati had 21 seconds left. Meaningful drive if they made something out of it, but unfortunately for them, they couldn't. And it ended with them on a fumble by Andy Dalton, despite the fact that he had 2 touchdowns, right? So, Seattle comes out with the lucky win. However you want to see this, if you're the eternal optimist, if you're the super cynic, doesn't really matter. This was an absolutely lucky win that the Seattle Seahawks barely got out of, which shouldn't have been a thing, right, on paper. But you can't bring overconfidence to the game and expect yourself to win all the time, right? Because if that's the case, you will get your ass beat from not seeing the truth. And the truth was, Andy Dalton was fantastic today. 35 passes on 51 attempts, a 68.6% on that. 418 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 fumbles, both lost, but a 106.5 quarterback rating. As for Russell Wilson, 14 passes on 20 attempts, 70%, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, 134.6. Typical, small level throwing of, efficiency level of Russell Wilson, which I love. But this was a worrying game. But fortunately, a win is a win is a win, no matter how you get it. And there's a lot of teams, week 1, where you would expect them to win, just not get results. But thankfully, the Seahawks get a result at home. Pete Carroll's record at home openers is now 15-0. So, hooray! And now we can focus up on next week, which is going to be at Pittsburgh. So, seeing as how we did with our offense here, don't you think maybe we should start a little bit quicker instead of just that, let's slow it down, pace ourselves, and get to the finish line by the third quarter? We got to come out banging, right? The Steelers got better defensively. They got a young man by the name of T.J. Watt, who is a fucking monster. And let's not forget, Ben Roethlisberger is still a dangerous weapon to deal with. And so Seattle gets the win, but now we get ourselves ready for the next week against the dreaded Pittsburgh Steelers. So, boys and girls, follow me at the SkyLounge and all the links in the description below. Like, comment, subscribe for more daily contents. Go Hawks!